What was the scariest moment of the journey?
Scariest. It didn't happen. It could have been scary.
Buzz Aldrin, the famous Apollo astronaut, left the whole world speechless when he said, "The moon is not what we think." Known for walking on its surface, he spoke in ways that left people confused and curious. Was he revealing a secret, sharing a deep feeling, or warning humanity? Join us as we explore the truth behind this powerful confession. Building the impossible. Apollo 11's engineering marvel. The Saturn V rocket towered at 363 feet, a giant of steel and fire that symbolized humanity's boldest dreams. It was the most powerful rocket ever built, a machine designed to carry 3 men beyond Earth's reach and into the silent vastness of space. Thousands of people looked at it with awe, but behind its immense structure lay a web of planning, precision, and determination that few could truly imagine. More than 400,000 engineers, technicians, and scientists poured their lives into this singular goal. Each bolt, each circuit, each switch was tested again and again. Every component carried the weight of the mission, the responsibility of lives, and the dreams of an entire planet. The scale of effort was staggering. Teams worked day and night, coordinating across cities and states. Every calculation was double-checked, every design scrutinized. The Saturn V was not just a rocket, it was the culmination of decades of learning, innovation, and risk-taking. Engineers developed new materials to withstand extreme heat, vibrations, and pressure. Computers, far less powerful than today's devices, guided simulations and verified each phase of the mission. The tiniest misstep could result in disaster. A single malfunction could end the lives of the crew and erase years of work in an instant. The stakes were unimaginably high, yet the team pressed forward, driven by curiosity and the promise of the unknown. The launch day arrived. The astronauts, suited in white pressure garments, climbed into the command module perched at the top of the Saturn V. Cameras from around the world captured the moment, yet for the crew, there was no spectacle, only focus. They sat strapped in narrow seats, surrounded by switches, dials, and blinking lights, awaiting the countdown that would send them into history. The final hours were filled with tension. Engineers ran through last-minute checks, fuel lines hissed, and the entire rocket trembled in anticipation. Every heart, from the control room to the launch stands, beat in sync with the giant machine. As the clock ticked down, engines roared to life, flames bursting beneath the towering structure. The ground shook, and clouds of smoke billowed into the sky. Slowly at first, the Saturn V began its climb, then accelerated, carrying humanity's hopes into the heavens. Stage after stage separated, each success, bringing them closer to orbit. The spacecraft reached incredible speeds, moving at 24,000 miles per hour, while telemetry in Houston confirmed every reading was within expected parameters. For the astronauts, the experience was both violent and serene, the shaking fading to a strange calm as Earth fell away beneath them. The mission now rested on precision, courage, and the invisible hands of those who had built every part of their journey. Despite this huge rocket, nothing prepared them for the journey that awaited them. The voyage to the moon. For 3 days, the astronauts traveled through the endless void at 24,000 miles per hour. Outside their small window, Earth shrank from a vibrant blue sphere into a tiny marble, floating in the black emptiness. The moon, in contrast, grew steadily larger, a gray and silent promise of the unknown. Every glance outside reminded them how small humanity truly was, a fragile life suspended in the cosmos. Time seemed both fast and slow as the spacecraft glided through nothingness, the hum of life support systems the only sound in the cabin. Weightlessness made every movement strange and delicate, yet they performed each task with disciplined care. The isolation was total. For the first time in human history, anyone had been so far from every other living soul. The crew's minds adjusted to the absence of familiar cues. The sun rose without warmth, shadows remained sharp, and sound was replaced with the faint mechanical heartbeat of their vessel. Every small motion required attention. Floating pens and instruments could drift into dangerous positions, and the astronauts adapted to a world where even gravity was optional. Mental endurance became as vital as physical readiness. Sleep was fragmented, meals were precise, and conversations were measured. They had prepared for these challenges, yet the reality of space tested them in ways that simulations could not replicate. As Earth disappeared behind them, the crew experienced a perspective that few could ever comprehend. Borders, cities, oceans, and forests blended into a single glowing dot, fragile against the void. The moon's gray surface promised discovery and risk, mystery and silence. The 3-day journey was a meditation on both humanity and solitude. In that small cabin, floating between worlds, the astronauts confronted the enormity of their task and the fragility of life. The psychological toll began quietly, like a shadow stretching across the mind, hinting at the emotional weight they would carry even after touching another world. However, the true test began when humanity would set foot on a world beyond its own. Humanity's first steps on the moon, Apollo 11, entered lunar orbit, a quiet, gray sphere growing larger outside the spacecraft's window with each passing minute. Inside, the crew prepared for a separation that would place 2 men on the surface while one remained alone in orbit. Eagle, the lunar module, detached from Columbia, carrying Armstrong and Aldrin toward the unknown. Collins stayed behind, circling the moon in solitude, orbiting a lifeless world while awaiting the return of his friends. Silence filled the cabin, broken only by the gentle hum of life support systems and the occasional check of instruments. The vastness of space enveloped them, reminding them that once they left the Earth's cradle, no one could reach them if something went wrong. The descent toward the lunar surface began smoothly, but alarms sounded unexpectedly, flashing warnings in red across the control panels. The onboard computer was overloaded, struggling to manage the intricate task of guiding Eagle down to a world no human had walked on before. Every second became critical. Armstrong took manual control, steady hands guiding the module with precise movements, countering the automated systems and the small errors that threatened the mission. Aldrin called out readings, altitude, and speed, relayed with meticulous care. Below them, the lunar surface stretched wide and barren, dotted with craters and boulders, a harsh landscape indifferent to their presence. Tension built as fuel levels dropped to dangerously low thresholds. Less than 30 seconds of fuel remained, yet Armstrong maintained calm control, maneuvering toward a clear spot amidst the rocks and shadows. He talks about the journey 15828. Every heartbeat in Houston and millions of living rooms across the world seemed to match the rhythm of the Eagle's engine. Then, finally, the module touched down. The words confirming the landing crackled over the radio. Mission control erupted with relief and joy. But inside the cabin, the 2 men faced a different reality: silence, isolation, and the stillness of a world untouched by life. Before stepping out, Aldrin performed a private ceremony, a brief communion prepared beforehand. On the moon, far from Earth, he poured wine into a small chalice, and said a quiet prayer. It was a human act of gratitude, an acknowledgement of both achievement and the enormity of standing on a foreign surface. No cameras recorded it, no one witnessed it beyond the 2 men. Yet it marked the first religious act on another world, a reminder that humanity carried not only curiosity and knowledge into space, but also its emotions, beliefs, and traditions. Aldrin's first step onto the lunar soil was tentative yet deliberate. His boots pressed into fine gray dust, leaving crisp footprints that would remain undisturbed for centuries. The ground felt solid, yet fragile under each step. The light was harsh, unfiltered by any atmosphere, casting shadows that appeared sharp and long. There was no sound, no movement, only the hum of the life support system and their measured breathing through helmets. Every detail was alien. The colorless soil, the horizon seemingly closer than it should be, the lack of wind or motion making the surface appear frozen in time. Aldrin moved slowly, testing each step, aware that history had placed him in a place untouched for billions of years. The environment struck with both awe and isolation. Despite the achievement, a profound emptiness pressed around them. The moon was magnificent in its scale, yet desolate in its nature. There was no life, no motion, no sound beyond what they brought themselves. Aldrin later reflected on the stark contrast between this lifeless expanse and the vibrant world left far behind. This was a place where human presence felt both immense and insignificant. Every footprint intruded upon a world that had existed unchanged since the dawn of time. The phrase "magnificent desolation" captured this paradox. Beauty intertwined with loneliness, grandeur intertwined with emptiness. Looking up, Earth hung distant and fragile in the black sky. A small sphere glowing blue and white, it seemed almost unreal, a single point of life against the void. The moon provided a perspective that no human experience on Earth could replicate. Borders, conflicts, and divisions melted into invisibility. Humanity, viewed from this distance, appeared small, delicate, and united by its very survival. The sight was humbling, reminding the astronauts that their journey was more than technological achievement. It was a confrontation with the fragile, temporary nature of life itself. Every action on the moon required care. Dust, disturbed by movement, fell immediately to the ground, frozen by the lack of atmosphere. Shadows appeared exaggerated, objects distorted, and the silence magnified the smallest gestures. The astronauts conducted experiments, set up cameras, and carefully explored the area, each moment blending discovery with the weight of history. He talks about taking the pictures 3:5 to 3:15. The emotional and mental intensity of the experience was as profound as the physical challenge of the mission. Even after the landing, the moon remained a teacher of quiet truths. Its surface was a mirror, reflecting both the magnitude of human achievement and the limits of human understanding. The landscape demanded respect, inspiring reflection and humility. The vast emptiness impressed upon the astronauts a lesson that would endure far longer than the mission itself. That exploration was not only about reaching new places, but also about understanding the smallness and fragility of life, the preciousness of Earth, and the shared destiny of all humanity. The first steps, the communion, and the careful exploration all carried meaning beyond science. They were acts of presence, evidence that humans could reach out into the universe while maintaining thought, reflection, and awe. As the astronauts prepared to return to Columbia, the silent world behind them remained unchanged, yet their lives had been altered forever. The weight that never lifted, the return to Earth was triumphant on the surface. Parades stretched through cities, with flags waving, crowds cheering, and cameras capturing every smile. Medals were awarded, speeches given, and handshakes exchanged with presidents, generals, scientists, and admirers of all ages. The world celebrated, marking the achievement as the pinnacle of human exploration. Television networks broadcast the events across the globe, showing the astronauts in shining suits, proud and smiling under the summer sun. Every detail was orchestrated to honor the courage, skill, and determination that had carried 3 men beyond Earth. Yet, behind the polished appearances and public praise, a different reality quietly unfolded. Aldrin experienced an inner detachment that contrasted sharply with the jubilant reception. While Armstrong and Collins handled interviews and ceremonies with ease, he found himself drifting in thought, occasionally silent in the midst of conversation. Crowded rooms and social gatherings felt unreal, as though the ordinary world could not contain the magnitude of what he had experienced. Sleep was difficult. Nights were long and often restless. Even in familiar surroundings, he would sometimes stare at the sky, reflecting on a world left behind that remained alive only in memory. The emotional strain manifested in several ways. Depression shadowed his days, a subtle weight that made ordinary moments feel hollow. Insomnia interrupted the rhythm of life, leaving long hours for reflection and the replaying of lunar experiences. His thoughts often turned to philosophical questions, contemplating not only the moon but also the nature of existence, humanity's place in the universe, and the fleetingness of life itself. The silence of the moon had left an imprint that no public ceremony could erase. It was a quiet, persistent presence that followed him in every step, every thought, and every interaction. Despite the struggle, Aldrin's personal reflections offered insight into the lasting impact of his journey. He came to understand that the moon was not merely a destination or a milestone. Its surface, lifeless yet profound, carried lessons about perspective, humility, and the fragility of human existence. Even decades later, he described the feeling as something that remained behind the eyes, a memory that could never truly be set aside. It was a weight that never lifted, a constant companion reminding him of the vastness of space and the smallness of humanity. This lingering presence shaped not only his personal life, but also his public advocacy. Aldrin began emphasizing the mental preparation required for space travel, encouraging new generations of astronauts to train both their bodies and their minds. He talks about the training they faced. 4, 24, 28. He sought to convey that exploration was as much an emotional and philosophical challenge as it was a technical one. His experience became a lens through which future missions could understand the psychological effects of traveling beyond Earth and the importance of support, reflection, and balance. Even as the world celebrated, Aldrin knew the moon had changed him permanently. It was a silent teacher, a profound companion, and a mirror reflecting both the fragility of Earth and the extraordinary capacity of humanity. But how were scientists able to reveal the moon's secrets? And what could this revelation mean for our future? Science confirms the moon's secrets. Decades after Apollo 11, new technology allowed scientists to look back at the moon in ways never before possible. Modern artificial intelligence and advanced computational tools re-examined the measurements, photographs, and rock samples collected during the Apollo missions. Every detail was analyzed with unprecedented precision, revealing evidence that challenged long-held assumptions and confirmed observations that astronauts had felt but could not explain. One of the earliest discoveries came from seismometers left on the moon. Moonquakes, triggered by meteoroid impacts or internal movement, produced vibrations that echoed for nearly an hour. Unlike earthquakes on Earth, which dissipate quickly, these vibrations persisted, indicating a lunar interior that was not completely solid. The pattern suggested layers, or even partially hollow structures beneath the surface, a composition that was surprising and unlike anything found on Earth. These echoes hinted at a world far more complex than a simple rock floating in space. Further analysis focused on the moon's chemical composition. By comparing isotopes from lunar rocks with material from deep within Earth, scientists confirmed a startling truth. The moon had originated from Earth itself. Billions of years ago, a massive collision likely tore a portion of our planet into orbit, which eventually coalesced to form the moon. It was not a distant visitor captured by gravity, but a sibling born from the same material, sharing a deep connection with Earth. Other discoveries revealed evidence of a dynamic past. Microscopic glass beads formed during ancient volcanic activity contained traces of water, sealed away for billions of years. These beads suggested that the moon had once been active, with internal heat shaping its surface and retaining chemical energy. Further analysis of lunar rocks demonstrated faint magnetic patterns, confirming that the moon once had a molten core capable of generating a magnetic field. It had a heart that once beat like Earth's, an interior alive with motion and energy long before human eyes arrived. Radar scans of the far side of the moon revealed additional secrets. Buried beneath layers of regolith were metal masses of enormous size, likely remnants of ancient asteroids that struck before life existed on Earth. These hidden structures hinted at violent events in the moon's early history and offered a record of solar system evolution preserved in silence. Each new piece of data reshaped understanding, turning the moon from a dead, silent satellite into a world with a history, activity, and connection to its parent planet. The combination of these discoveries transformed how humans saw the moon. It was no longer a simple inert rock drifting around Earth. Its history of volcanic activity, hidden water, magnetic fields, and massive impacts revealed a complex and intimate story of planetary formation. The moon was a reflection of Earth, a partner in the cosmic dance, and a witness to billions of years of history. For decades, Aldrin had sensed the significance of what he experienced on the surface. The emotional weight and philosophical insight he carried were now mirrored in scientific data. Humanity had not only walked on the moon, but had touched a world that was alive in its past, connected to the very origin of the Earth. The moon's hidden life, new discoveries. The moon has long been thought of as a silent, lifeless rock drifting in space. but recent missions have revealed a far more complex and dynamic world. India's Chandrayaan-3 mission, along with NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, has offered scientists an unprecedented view beneath the surface, uncovering secrets that challenge our understanding of Earth's closest neighbor. These missions have scanned the lunar crust using advanced radar, spectrometry, and magnetic sensors, creating detailed maps of areas that had previously been invisible. Among the most surprising findings are the magnetic anomalies scattered across the lunar surface. Certain regions display strong magnetic fields that should not exist on a body thought to be inactive. These anomalies suggest that parts of the moon retained heat and energy long after the surface appeared cold and dead. Scientists believe these could be remnants of geothermal processes that occurred billions of years ago, hinting at a moon that was once geologically alive. These magnetic patterns also raise questions about the moon's interior, including the possibility of pockets of partially molten material that could have persisted far longer than previously imagined. Radar scans from Chandrayaan-3 have revealed complex subsurface structures, including layers of rock, hidden ridges, and voids that hint at an active geological past. These formations show signs of past volcanic activity, tectonic movements, and shifts that occurred long before humans arrived. Glass beads found deep within lunar soil point to ancient eruptions, while the chemical signatures indicate that the moon once contained energy sources capable of shaping its surface over time. Such discoveries suggest that the moon is not a static object, but a celestial body that has evolved and changed, influenced by both internal and external forces. The implications of these discoveries are profound. The moon was not always as it appears today. Once geologically active, it may have experienced phases of heat, movement, and transformation, forming the craters, valleys, and ridges that are visible now. This dynamic history adds a new layer of fascination to lunar exploration, showing that the moon is intimately connected to the story of Earth. It is a partner in our solar system, sharing a history of collisions, volcanic activity, and planetary evolution. Each magnetic anomaly and hidden structure is a clue to understanding not only the moon itself, but also the forces that shape rocky planets across the cosmos. Even as scientists map its surface with greater precision, the moon continues to surprise. Small variations in magnetic fields and hidden subsurface structures indicate that energy still exists beneath the crust, waiting to be explored. These findings open up possibilities for future missions, including studying geothermal remnants for scientific understanding or even potential energy sources in the distant future. The moon is no longer just a target for astronauts or satellites. It is a living record of planetary evolution, holding information about its past that has remained hidden for billions of years. As humans continue to return, the moon promises to reveal more. Every scan, sample, and exploration mission brings new insights into its composition, activity, and history. Chandrayaan-3 and the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter have only scratched the surface, showing that the moon is far from the dead, silent rock we once imagined. Despite the deep study of the moon, there are still some mysteries that have not been solved. Hidden mysteries yet to be solved. Despite decades of observation and exploration, the moon continues to hold secrets that defy easy explanation. Scientists have cataloged unusual craters that do not fit traditional impact models, magnetic fields that appear without clear origin, and large subsurface voids that hint at hollow structures beneath the surface. These anomalies suggest that the moon may still harbor phenomena beyond human understanding, challenging our assumptions about its formation, composition, and evolution. The magnetic anomalies, for instance, are concentrated in isolated regions rather than spread evenly, creating questions about the moon's interior and its thermal history. Why do these magnetic patches exist in a world thought to be inactive? Could there be hidden processes still at work deep within its crust? These puzzles push scientists to consider explanations that go beyond conventional geology, hinting at a moon that is not completely inert even today. Crater formations also provoke intrigue. Some craters show unusual shapes, depths, or internal structures that do not match typical asteroid impacts. Others appear almost perfectly circular, but lack the expected ejecta patterns. These differences suggest that either the moon experienced forces we do not yet understand, or that internal activity influenced the surface in ways not previously considered. Each anomaly is a window into the moon's hidden history, challenging researchers to refine models and develop new tools to explore its mysteries. Subsurface voids detected by radar scans and gravimetric measurements hint at enormous hollow spaces beneath the surface. Some are small pockets, while others are vast cavities that could extend for miles. The origins of these voids remain uncertain. They may be remnants of ancient lava tubes, the result of collapsing volcanic channels, or structures created by processes not yet discovered. Whatever their origin, these voids add to the sense that the moon is a dynamic and layered world, not a simple, inert satellite. The unknowns of the moon fuel speculation about its potential for future exploration. Scientists envision using AI-driven mapping, advanced drilling techniques, and new orbital surveys to probe these hidden structures. By combining cutting-edge technology with careful observation, researchers hope to understand not only the moon's past, but also its potential for supporting human exploration, science, and discovery in the future. What else is the moon hiding, and will we ever truly understand it? Let's take a look at the hidden truths Aldrin has revealed about the moon in his interviews. Buzz Aldrin's cryptic words. Buzz Aldrin is one of the most famous astronauts in history, but even decades after walking on the moon, some of his words continue to spark controversy. Certain clips and quotes have circulated online, suggesting he questioned the reality of the Apollo 11 mission or implied secrets about the moon. These statements, however, require careful understanding to separate truth from misinterpretation, and they reveal not just his experiences, but also the profound emotional weight of going to another world. One of the most shared lines comes from a Q&A at Oxford Union in 2015. A participant asked Aldrin what the scariest moment of the journey had been. In the short clip that circulated, Aldrin replied that it did not happen. He replies to the question taken out of context. This sentence led many people on social media to suggest he was denying the moon landing itself. The reality, however, is very different. In the full recording of the event, Aldrin was explaining that there was no single moment of overwhelming fear. The mission, while dangerous, had been carefully controlled and meticulously rehearsed. His remark was shorthand for "nothing truly scary happened in the way you might expect," not a claim that the landing never occurred. Later in that same talk, Aldrin recounted a real danger faced on the lunar surface: a broken circuit breaker in the lunar module. This small but critical piece of equipment controlled the ascent engine, which was necessary to return to the command module. Aldrin solved the problem in an improvised, hands-on way, using a pen to push the switch back into place. This moment was tense and very real, demonstrating the human ingenuity and presence of mind required during the mission. Fact-checking organizations such as PolitiFact confirm that Aldrin never denied the landing. The clips that suggest otherwise are heavily edited and misleading. Another quote that fueled speculation appeared in a different interview, when Aldrin was asked why no one had returned to the moon for so many years. In a short excerpt, he said that it was because they did not go there, and that was the way it happened. Taken alone, this phrase has been used to promote conspiracy theories, yet in context, he was reflecting on why subsequent missions were delayed or canceled. The full explanation reveals a combination of technical, political, and financial factors. Space exploration is expensive and driven by governmental priorities, and the Apollo program's goals were influenced as much by international competition as by scientific curiosity. Aldrin was emphasizing the reality that humanity has yet to return, not denying the first landing. These cryptic statements take on a deeper significance when considered alongside Aldrin's personal reflections on the psychological toll of space travel. Interviews with publications such as AARP and National Geographic reveal that stepping onto the moon was a mixture of exhilaration and profound loneliness. The lunar surface, while magnificent in its scale and clarity, was also stark, lifeless, and desolate in a way that Earth never is. For Aldrin, the return to Earth came with a mix of awe at the achievement and difficulty adjusting to ordinary life. He faced personal challenges, including the loss of family members to suicide and his struggles with alcoholism. These experiences shaped how he spoke about the moon later in life, often in ways that could sound cryptic, melancholic, or reflective. The broader lesson in these statements is one of human authenticity. Buzz Aldrin's words remind us that astronauts are not simply technicians or performers of heroic acts. They are people, profoundly shaped by what they see and feel. And space travel can leave marks on the mind as much as on the body. His statements about why humans have not returned to the moon, or the scariest moments that did not happen, are not evidence of conspiracy, but evidence of a man grappling with extraordinary experiences and the difficulty of communicating them in ordinary language. At the same time, these quotes highlight how easily meaning can be distorted. Short clips online, stripped of context, have fueled the myth that Aldrin doubted the moon landing. In reality, the truth is more subtle and more human. The ambiguity of his remarks adds to his legend. As a pioneer who saw Earth from afar, he wrestled with perspectives that most people cannot fully understand. Some lines, especially the more mystical or philosophical ones, may be read metaphorically, reflecting on why humanity has yet to return, or why we lost the collective vision to explore. Buzz Aldrin's cryptic words, therefore, occupy a space between factual history and personal reflection. They reveal a man haunted not by conspiracy or deceit, but by the magnitude of what he accomplished, the weight of isolation, and the awareness of human fragility. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.